Hi everyone, and welcome again to Nettle, the go-to place to learn about business, finance, economics, and much more. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that bell notification button below so that you never miss fresh videos and tutorials you might be interested in. Many thanks to our current Patreon supporters and YouTube members for making this video possible. We would also greatly appreciate if you consider supporting us as well. So please check the link in the description or click the join button below for more details. My name is Sava, and today we're investigating a quite niche yet very practically relevant concept in portfolio management, that is, how to adequately and realistically incorporate the possibility of short selling into portfolio optimization and the allocation optimization using Excel Solver. And it's quite well known that if you optimize a portfolio, especially if you use some measure of expected returns and put no constraints on weights, Excel Solver quite often advises you to have unrealistically large negative exposures to some stocks. It allows you to short sell some stocks and advises you to do it quite unreasonably. So addressing that is quite important for practical purposes, as well as in terms of understanding how short selling is actually regulated on real-world financial markets. For our today's data set, we've got 10 years worth of daily returns for 5 quite prominent US stocks, and we can calculate daily returns using total return indices by dividing the total return index today by the total return index yesterday and subtracting 1, applying it for all 5 sample stocks and for all 10 sample years. Keeping that in mind, we can calculate our annualized returns by just dividing the total return index at the very end by the total return index at the very start, raising it to the power of 1 over 10, as we've got 10 sample years, and subtracting 1. And we can drag it across quite naturally. And for the risk, we can use the sample standard deviation function applied to the daily returns we've just calculated and times it by the square root of 252 to annualize as usual, as there are 252 trading days in a year on average. And to understand the risk structure, as usual, we can calculate the covariance matrix of those 5 stocks, so a 5 by 5 matrix. And the easiest and the most straightforward way to do that in this particular case would be to use the index method. So we first apply the covariance.s sample covariance function. First refer to the index of the very first row. We need to lock it both row and column wise. We refer to the first indexing variable. Then we apply the index function to the very last row of our returns, locking it as well, referring to the same index variable. For these index variables, we need to lock the columns, as we don't want them to change as we drag it across, but we do want them to change as we drag it down, quite naturally. And then, to save time, we can just copy the first index specification and change the indexing variable here, locking the row instead for obvious reasons. To annualize covariance, we can multiply by 252 and generate a symmetric 5 by 5 covariance matrix for all of our sample stocks. And now we can start with an equally weighted portfolio as usual, using the 20% or 1 over 5 allocations. At first, we have got no cash, as cash will come into the picture when we discuss short selling regulations. And we need to sum our allocations in all 5 assets plus cash to generate the total allocation that we need to demand to be equal to 100% or just 1. For the return of the portfolio, we can use the sum product function and cross-multiply the returns onto the relevant stock weights. Here we don't need to worry about the cash, as cash has got 0 return. It's quite natural. And we get an expected return of 15.87% for our equally weighted portfolio here. For the risk, as well as having 0 return, cash has 0 risk. It's a risk-free asset, especially if you have got your consumption denominated in the same currency. All the usual concepts apply here. So we can also use just the allocations to stocks to determine our risk exposure. So we can matrix multiply our row of stock weights onto the covariance matrix we have calculated above, and then multiply it further on the right by the transposed vector of stock weights. This generates our variance. To calculate volatility or standard deviation, we take the square root as usual. And then if we want to use utility maximization algorithms, we can refer to the Arrow-Pratt utility function that incorporates portfolio return and portfolio risk. And as we are dealing with short selling, and short selling is generally something that investors with quite low risk aversion do, we'll input the low risk aversion coefficient, or high risk tolerance coefficient of 2. Again, this value fluctuates generally between 2 and 4, 2 for the lowest risk aversion investors and 4 for the highest risk aversion investors. And for the utility, we can simply apply this function by subtracting from the return theta divided by 2 times risk squared, as this is variance and we've calculated volatility. And now, just as a reminder, we can apply solver to generate portfolios with and without short selling restrictions or regulations. And to do that, we can use solver and first start with the minimum variance portfolio. So we can input our risk as the objective function, minimize it by changing the variable cells with the weights, and input the only constraint we need here, that the sum of weights is equal to 1. And if we minimize risk, we need to also take into account whether we tick this box or not. Do we want to make our unconstrained variables non-negative? With short selling restrictions, we do tick this box. With no short selling restrictions, we untick it. So if we click solve, we'll see that we have got the following portfolio allocation with quite a high exposure to Walmart and non-negative allocations to all other 4 stocks, meaning that the minimum variance portfolio does not really worry about the non-negative weight restriction, the short selling restriction, as if we untick this box, our optimal portfolio will not change at all. However, as soon as we proceed to more complicated algorithms like maximizing utility, if we try to maximize our utility, which is given in this cell over here, without negative weight, so with short selling constraints, if we tick this box again, we'll see that our portfolio has got 100% allocation to Apple, which is quite understandable given how high expected return, or historical return in this matter, is, and given how low our theta is, how high our risk tolerance is, or how low our risk aversion is. However, if we include a theta of 4, for example, and run it once again, we'll be able to see that 100% allocation to Apple actually disappears. But let's go back to the baseline case where we had 100% allocation to Apple, and it's quite easy to see that this is due to restrictions on negative weights, because as the Apple return is so high in this particular specification, the optimizer would theoretically like to short sell stocks with lower expected returns, such as Chevron or perhaps even Caterpillar, and increase its exposure to Apple using the cash that's freed up as you short sold the stocks. Again, short selling is nothing more and nothing less than borrowing the stock from a broker, selling it, so selling the stock that you do not own, and use the proceeds to finance other trades that you might want to execute. So in this case, if we want to see what will happen if the short selling restriction is lifted, so if we untick this box, we will see quite an unrealistic allocation where we've got very high positive exposures to the 2 stocks with the highest returns, and we fund this leverage by taking on negative exposures to the other 3 stocks. And quite prominently, given Chevron has lowest return in this sample, Chevron has got a negative weight of minus 131.84%, which for reference means that if you want to invest $1 million of your own capital, you would open a short position of $1.3 million worth of Chevron alone. So you leverage yourself massively and expose yourself to quite pronounced risk. Even in this model, the risk annualized is 50%. And this is generally not something that you would advise to any rational investor to do. And this happens, first of all, due to the fact that those historical returns might not correctly reflect future expectations, and we have got a video where we discuss how to deal with those and partially alleviate this concern. However, what this approach also does not take into account are the short selling regulations that exist on most financial markets. You cannot just short sell the stock and do anything you want with the cash you have accumulated by doing that. In most jurisdictions, there is actually a provision in place that requires any short selling position to be accompanied by a margin account where you deposit cash to support the commitment of short selling, because obviously the exchanges that facilitate trading and short selling as well want to prevent traders from defaulting on their short selling commitments. Because remember, you borrowed this stock to start with and you need to return it back to the broker or to whomever you borrowed it from. And to enforce that, margining serves as a kind of insurance to incentivize short sellers to, first of all, not to take on excessive short positions, but also to honor their initial contractual obligations. And we had several tutorials that explain the essence and the incentive design of margining, mostly in relation to derivatives trading. So please check those videos out if you're interested in the fundamentals of margining in this respect. However, with respect to stock short selling, margining generally works the following way. You first have to calculate your short interest, which is basically your exposure to negative positions, so your short selling exposure. So to do that, we need to sum if our weights, and we need to sum up only our negative weights. And to keep this value positive, to make it more interpretable, we put a minus in front. So in this case, our short interest is 183.85% of our overall portfolio. So we are $1.8 million short out of our 1 million initial capital, which is ridiculously high amounts of leverage if we talk about this particular application. So what exchanges do is they have got a margin requirement that is, in the US, for stock short selling, 150%, meaning that you have to deposit 150% worth of your short interest with the exchange as cash, which prohibits you from doing something like that, massively leveraging your positions in stocks that you expect will perform well, and it also enables some degree of trust and commitment to the people who you have borrowed the stocks you short sold from. So to accommodate that, we can model our cash position, that is enabled by the regulatory framework of the exchanges, as short interest times the margin. And this means that if we will try to execute such a position, it would be impossible, as we'll need 4 times as much capital as we currently have. So this investment strategy is actually practically unattainable due to margin requirements. So let's see what will happen if we honor our contractual obligations and we introduce margining into our model by maximizing utility again given this constraint. And we'll see that in this case we have got no short selling whatsoever, and this means that the short selling regulations, the margining requirement that is, disincentivizes short selling by quite a bit if you think about even the least risk-averse investors. Remember the amount of leverage we have taken beforehand. However, let's see if the margin requirement is lower, if it's like 50%, what will happen? If that's the case, we will still have some, however, not as massive short interest in Chevron. Remember, previously it was in excess of 100%. But now we also have to deposit some cash to finance that particular short selling position to honor the regulation that's put in place. What is also interesting is if we deal with a minimum variance portfolio with short selling, we can get a flavor of what hedging is in this regard. And we'll see that in this case, we are able to attain quite a small level of risk, and judging by the fact that we have got still a negative exposure to Chevron, we also balance our portfolio out with cash and hedge our risks that way by combining both positive and negative weights in our allocation. However, if the margin is back at 150%, which is mostly what it is in real-world markets, we'll be able to see that our allocation changes, and we actually take quite a bit of use of the cash simply as a diversifier, as a zero risk asset that we can hold within the exchange if we care about minimizing our risk. And this is how you can incorporate short selling realistically, keeping in mind all of the regulations and requirements that exist into your portfolio management optimization framework. Please leave a like on this video if you found it helpful. In the comments below, I make to see any further suggestions for videos in business, finance, or economics you would like me to record. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and consider support us on Patreon. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.